and Roger are same spot.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna call a meeting to order. It is now live streaming. The meeting's called to order at 4:02 p.m. And looks like Donna's here, Bill's here, Linda, Greg, Roger, and Steve. And I don't see Paul yet, so we're missing him, but we can go ahead and start. So we need a approval of the meeting of July the, actually it was second. Yes, yes, there it is. Special call meeting. I believe Roger sent you the notes. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, Bill Conkey made a motion. Do I have a second?
Donna, you need to second that. I missed so much of that meeting. I don't know that I can really even vote on to accept it or not.
There's Paul coming in. Donna,
Finally got in.
did you hear Steve?
I'm not hearing everyone. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not hearing everything.
Steve said that you need to make the motion because he wasn't in that, he wasn't online long enough. So to second the approval of the minutes of June 2nd.
I'll second them. I read them.
Okay. All right, Paul. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
All opposed, like sign. All right, review of the financial statements and the dashboard report. Since this is the last financial for the fiscal year, I was going to kind of look at the water number 3 budget tracking report. Gives us a comparison of the year-to-date budget against the year-to-date actual. You with me on that report?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. Shows revenue in the water at $1,423,000, slightly off from the budget of $1,486,000. Looks like the operating revenue of the water at $1,310,000 was the shortfall by $121,000. But we made up for it with miscellaneous revenue of about $62,000 better than budget. So we ended up total revenue about $63,000 off in water for the year. Looking down to the bottom of that report, net income was 236 against the budgeted 123. So Roger and the guys were able to hold the expenses in line and to end up with a better profit than what we had expected and had budgeted for. So about 112,000 better. look at that same report for the sewer. You can see there that the revenue at 607 was below budget at 641. The actual operating revenue for the sewer was down about 26,000 below what we had budgeted. Most everything else was fairly flat. So we came in about 34,000 total revenue below budget. Again, dropping to the bottom there, you can see that the expenses were at 728 against budgeted expenses of 729. So we again controlled our expenditures, even though our revenues was off a little bit. And
Did you mean 799, Dan?
yes,
Or am I- okay.
799 budgeted. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So I think you guys did a good job this year of controlling the expenses, even though we were doing a lot of work in the facility. I noticed that the overtime rates, which they did work a lot of overtime, was one of the areas that was higher than budgeted, but they made up for it in other areas. Utilities were down about 10,000 below budget. And maintenance expense outside labor was down about 10,000 below budget. So all in all, we came in with even though we did come in at a loss, we came in at a better loss than what we had, a lesser loss than what we had planned to do. So I think the financials for the year looked really good. We ended up the year with a cash in the bank of 964,000 against the year ago at 897,000. So we picked up about 60,000 in cash this year from operations. Total overall, we total revenue and expenses of both water and sewer was much better than we had anticipated. On the dashboard report, you can see that in the graph form, what I just went through. But the yeah, and if you'll notice on that dash report under the water balance, we had an Arkema meter fail. Roger will speak to that in a minute. That's what happened there. It hasn't rained a lot, so we should be all right with our wastewater not exceeding the parameter. That kind of summarizes the year. Any questions? Anybody saw anything that they were asking about or whatever in those reports? Roger, you want to speak to that Arkema issue, maybe?
Yeah, so there was a 4-inch master meter, brand meter at Arkema that supplies one of their 2 feeds, and the moving element in that meter went bad on us between the magnetic drive element itself. And so we're replacing that meter with a newer meter. We're putting in one that matches the rest of Neptunes that we got in the system and changing that one out electronically. The reason we didn't do that when we did the big meter change out program, they had changed that master meter probably in about 2011. So it was only a year or two old at that point in time. So we had one on the shelf and we're swapping it out and moving forward. And Jeff Hall's working with me. He's got meters inside the plant. So we're going to backfill on this next cycle. It'll probably be about $24,000 worth of revenue that we'll pick up that should have been on this report, but didn't get on there because of that reason. And it may be a little bit more. That meter probably actually failed at somewhere in the previous cycle. So we'll get it all worked out, Arkham, and backfill them and see what we come up with at the end of the year. So.
Any more comments on the financial report and the status as of the end of the fiscal year? I'm sure in the audit that some of these depreciation numbers and things may shift around a little bit to change those balances, but I think all in all, from an operations standpoint, Roger and the guys did a great job this year.
One question on that, Arkema. Is that reference to that attachment you have there, Roger?
Yeah, that attachment where the example bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I did there, our software allows you to plug a usage in it to see what kind of revenues that you're missing out on. And I included that in your packet because of that. I just wanted you guys to see there's $23,000 plus hanging out there that we're gonna back bill. So I've already talked to Jeff about it. He's good with it. Jeff Hall down here, our local site manager, and we decided we would get back together again to decide what the actual numbers were going to be. And I think they're going to be actually a little more than that. Since that meter wasn't electronically, I couldn't tell you what date it happened. It just, estimate that between the billing cycles. I know that the meter did not register any flow whatsoever from the previous time. It was read on the high side. It was a compound meter. So, I
was just wondering about that penalty.
Yeah, that wouldn't apply. That's an example penalty if they didn't pay the bill within the 15 days. So it won't.
Oh, okay. So that's not real then. Okay. That's why I just wanted to check.
Yeah, it just computes that based on the usage and assuming that they wouldn't pay it in the 15 days. So, but no, it would not apply.
Okay.
Okay, moving forward, then I think the next thing in your packet was some quotes that Roger has and bids on the 2 trucks that we were going to buy in last fiscal year, but didn't get them until now. And Roger, you want to talk about those quotes so they'll understand what they got there?
Yeah. So in the previous meeting, you guys actually authorized me to proceed, but there is one item in here that we need to take action on tonight, and that's the service body bid, because I did not have that in there. But what we did, we took sealed bids on a service truck chassis and the service body bid, and we took sealed bids on a pickup truck, 4-wheel drive extended cab F-250 pickup truck. And in the packet, I've got you a comparison between the state contract price and the bids that came in on it. So the bidder that actually responded to this bid was Purchase Ford out of Mayfield. We were originally just going to buy off the state contract and not bid it out. Chairman asked me to check with some of the local vendors, which we did, and I found out they were actually pricing their vehicles cheaper. And that's what led to that. So ultimately, Purchase Ford on the 550 4x2 dual wheel chassis truck bid $33,627, and that was compared to the state contract price. Same exact equipment, same vehicle, and everything at $37,180. So pretty good savings there. I guess we're looking at about $3,500 worth of savings on that vehicle. Then on the F-250 extended cab four-wheel drive, purchase Ford bid $28,515. That was compared to a price of $32,130. So again, about that much, $3,600 dollars in savings. So, you know, we had talked about that verbally. You said go ahead and proceed with that. We've actually gone forward with those two purchases. The one I need board action on tonight is for the service body bid, and the service body would go on the F-550 chassis. What it is a compartmentalized bed. Y'all seen it, the truck that Tim drives right now. It's got a similar bed, it's a little bit heavier duty, because we also spec'd out a 4,000 crane to go on it to allow us to lift our pumps in and out of our lift station. Yeah. And so we had one bid on that, and that came from Meyer Truck Equipment, and the bid on it was $33,100. It was actually a little less than what the bid was, and it had all the original bid price I thought we were going to get on it. But anyway, it's got all the equipment and everything that we would like to see put on our crane truck. And I wish we would have got more bids, but we didn't. And that's where we're at, probably due to maybe COVID-19. I don't.
So we have about 66,000 in that truck total.
Yeah, and that's
Truck is 33.
we budgeted a little over 60 for that particular truck this time around. I can look that up, but I do know
I think I have them down.
the amount that we budgeted.
Would you look? I don't think they're down.
Yeah, okay. All right. So do we need, you say we need a motion to, I thought we had approved it at the 70,000, but you need a motion to do that, Myers?
I don't know. I mean, I had it in my mind, we needed to approve the service body bid. I think that I read in the minutes where it was pretty clear on the chassis and the pickup truck, but just for clarity purposes, I'd like to see, you know, say that you reviewed the bid and within budget, you approved this proceed on with the purchase on the service body crane.
So are we looking at
Not
two
ordered.
different trucks or just one?
We're getting two different trucks.
Okay,
So the service body is going to go on the bigger truck, the 550, the ton and a half
okay.
truck. And I've not ordered that service body yet. I have ordered the chassis and I have ordered the pickup truck, but I've not ordered this service body yet. So I'll need action from the board before I can order.
Okay, do I have a motion to authorize Roger to go ahead and purchase the bid from Meyer Truck Entertainment of $33,100 for the bed to go on the F-550 chassis?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. All right. Okay. Very good. Moving on down to the Will transmission main and improvements. Roger, what do we got going on there?
Okay, the reason I've got that on the agenda, I wanted to update the board on some things that we've been working on. As you know, we're in the middle of getting water withdrawal applications to add our well number 6 online. And as part of that process, the Department of Environmental Protection required us to get some additional sampling. So we've been running the wells number 4 and 6. As part of that process, the guys came across, they were looking at the transmission main that goes to Duke and going to the plant. And some of the board will recall over the years that we've had trouble. We didn't feel like we'd get enough water to the plant through that transmission main. And we thought we had air pockets underneath the railroad and everything else. Because we've been limited pretty much with 3 wells running to getting 1,320 gallon a minute to the plant. Well, they found a solenoid operated valve that was in a vault that was originally put in. The system was closed, and Tim opened that valve up, and it reduced the head pressure greatly at our well field, and that was the problem. That was the source of the problem. He found it, and we opened it up, and we're able to get a lot more flow to our water plant now than what we historically have been able to do. Now, when we did that, it created a couple of problems, and that we had some microbial growth in the transmission main, and we sloughed that off at that higher flow rate, and having to deal with that down the plant. When our filters caught it, we were able to disinfect it, but we had to ride herd pretty close for a couple of weeks on that. We had some issues with chlorine demand, and we had to staff the plant up. So we did suffer some overtime here the last couple of weeks, but it was, one of those deals that once you got into it, we had to deal with it to mitigate the problem. So good news is we're going to be able to run a lot more flow to our plant, going to have a lot less head loss, and I suspect we're going to have a lot less power bills as a result of this. And I'll just have to report on that as we progress during the year. But that was a good thing. And during the period, we got a capital project. I know the Water Committee remembers this one, but we're going to do some improvements. And so we dropped our casing in underneath Long Valley Road and installed it in preparation of that. And the remaining sequence of events here is we suspect that we'll have our testing back from our well here later on this week. We'll be able to submit those to Division of Water. I think they're going to go ahead and grant us some modification on our water withdrawal permit. And then when that triggers, when they pull that trigger, then we'll get our construction permit and be able to move on and hook up that new well that's over on Martin Front. So that's, I wanted to keep you updated on that. That's pretty good for our system. So anybody got any questions on that? What's going on there? We got great wells. I'll just make this comment, but we do have bacteriological issues in our well field there, and they're not they're things that we have to deal with and we have to treat for it. But we have to be cognizant of it, and that's something that we really never had much discussion about until last year when we did that sonic cleaning on that well number 2. And we were having trouble with chlorine demand at the plant. We'd always had trouble with that very issue when we cleaned our wells, but it was more pronounced last year. And so I don't really feel like the problem's getting worse. I just feel like we didn't understand what the problem was many years ago, and we've gotten a pretty good understanding of that now. And so as we go forward, we're doing these treatment studies and everything, we've got all that to the consultant, so they're able to consider that as part of their study.
Okay, good, very good. Okay, go ahead and talk to us about the wastewater agreed order status while you're at it.
So, this marks the end of our second quarter here for our corrective action plan, and we submitted our report. And during this quarter, basically reported to them that our peracetic acid trial is going to be ongoing, but we believe that's where we need to be at. We've had good success with it of recent, and we want to move towards a final project where we put new feed equipment in and start using that instead of the gaseous chlorine. I'm trying really hard to get away from gaseous chlorine because of the safety concerns and the regulatory requirements and management, since it's extremely hazardous. So that said, our engineer, Rivercrest in Chastain, they're working on that to design that system. They've also begun work on the lift station wastewater plant improvements, and we met with them. We expect their submittal of their preliminary report sometime here next week. And they'll have their recommendations before us and what the scope of the design project should be. And we'll have to review that as a group and approve it before we go into final design. But I've been working with the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority to get our loan application approved for that project. And we've made some progress on there. We've been scheduled to appear before Kentucky Infrastructure Authority Board in August. And then we'll ask for approval of what the original application amount was. I would hope that we're not going to have to spend that much money, but we won't know until we get the preliminary reports. And as a group, the board looks it over and decides what the scope of the project's going to ultimately be. So we'll know more about that here in the next several weeks. That's the status that we reported that all to the cabinet. I did want to Rivercrest, Chastain, set the schedule implementation for the improvements by 1 quarter on each of the projects. So that you can see that we put the schedule modification. And I think they'll grant it. We didn't have any compliance issues during this quarter, so we've been in compliance for a while.
Congratulations on that.
The plant's really operating well. We've gotten the solids out, and we're finished. We feel like 2 or 3 more dredges. We'll be all of the 3 storage will only operate at about half capacity. So we're really getting.
Weather and issue.
Yeah.
So are we still dredging, Roger? You still got some dredging to do?
2 or 3 days, what Tim said on that. Talked to him today. We'll finish on that. About 2 or 3 more days. And the plan is to get all the food cleaned up, and then we'll surplus that dredge and probably put it up for sale. I think that we'll get the dredge, they kept it up well, and I think we'll get a good dollar value out of it.
Okay, good. All right. Be glad to get that project behind us. Okay. Looks like you started working on the automated meter procurement and funding a little bit.
We have. I've got an inventory of what we want to replace. I've got technical spec developed and some preliminary cost estimates. And as part of that process, in our capital plan this year, we looked it up on that. Probably order of $420,000. What the project, and that's meters, electronic module, and then leak detection on every other meter setting. Similar to what we had set up with the original. So we I put together sample based on Kentucky Rural Water Finance for finance process. What they got. The par amount of the financing, 450,000, and then again with the deposit of what we would take out being 450,000, you can kind of see what the cost of the financing would be if you go down. Dan, I know you looked at the payments and everything, and I think totally 497. That's a loan used towards the meters. So the financing cost of about $48,000, which is not too bad. I thought it looked pretty attractive. I mean, comparably speaking, KIA, there's really not a mechanism that we can get through them that I'm aware of that we can fund it with a 5-year term. They usually on a longer year period, a longer period package. So I wanted to try to present something to the board where we could get these things paid for pretty quick, because the council had approved the $4 charge per customer to help pay for this. We've got 1,600 actual customers now. It won't take care of the full debt service amount, but it'll be very close to it. And I'm speaking to the chairman this morning, I really feel like the additional flow that these meters are going to capture that we're not billing right now will take care of the remainder. So between that $4 charge and the extra cost or extra revenue we'll pick up with better metering, we should be able to cover this expenditure and then retire it within 5 years, be done with it. The meter life of the meters that we're using are on the order of about 20 years is what we expect out of it. So I think it's a win on the return on investment. It will be a win. We initially set the system up for a drive-by read system. And then ultimately the goal would be as the funds became available, we could implement and advance it up to the next level of advanced meter infrastructure. We're putting the towers around where we could bounce the signals around town. And it could be that there's going to be some technology improvements that allow us to do that, maybe on a cellular network. But we want to try to proceed. We capital plans got this project in it. You know, we felt like it was important to move forward with it. We'd like to go ahead and move forward if we can. So that's tonight. I guess it's what I'm asking is the board's permission. We can pursue preparing an official application for funding this project through the Rural Water Finance Corporation. If you guys are good with that, and then and move forward with the procurement, go ahead and get our bids in and have those ready for the next board meeting.
Dan, you muted yourself.
Thank you, Bill.
Yep.
Hey, I just was saying, did you get far enough into it to know when we would be able to start like installing meters? Are we going to be in the winter time or have to wait till spring, or will we be able to do some of that this year?
Well, I want to do it this year. You know, the application approval process is pretty quick through this program because they've got a lot of the money available, you know, and the way they do that, they revolve those things to keep their money available to do these types of projects with. So that said, I've got technical specs and things together. I'm ready to advertise for bid pretty well. I'm just using AWWA standard for my meters, and then we're going to be we use Itron equipment because it's compatible with our customer service software, and we've got a lot of the other infrastructure already in place for the drive-by system. And I didn't want to. I like it. It works. It's proven. We haven't had any trouble with it. I'd like to stick with it.
So looking in the packet, Roger, am I looking at this 5-year loan?
Yes,
That's what we're looking at financing it with. Okay.
5 years.
Right. Okay. And did I see an interest rate of 2%?
Yes, 2% on the coupon. Yeah. Now I would tell you there's some costs in there that are overhead on that that's going to jack that effective cost up. So, you know, when you're dealing with a program like this, and it's really not any different. The Kentucky League of Cities has got one that they call their lease program, very similar to this program, and CAECO's got one too. But you got some overhead cost in there. And so if you look, they say, okay, par amount for the bonds, they're going to charge us for the loan. Their administration fee is going to be $20,000. I mean, that's just what it is. And then they got some other costs that are tagged in there. And then we pay the 2% on top of that on the par amount. So that's what we've got, total, the total amount paid in is gonna be $497,917. And, we're taking $450 of that off the table. So interest and administrative fees and that kind of thing, roughly 47 to 48,000 bucks. So your effective interest rate, it's going to be a little higher than that.
I understand.
Yeah.
Now, I see the debt service schedule. Is that the 90,000, 95,000? Is that just describing the way we're paying it back on that table?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. I mean, yeah, you get the money up front, the 470, I think.
And so that's showing just how the debt will be serviced, and the payments balloon out, 2023, they balloon up to 95,000, and 2025, 100,000. The reality is that the League of Cities lease that we got, Glenda showed that to me the other day, and it balloons up too. And so we're going to have $120,000 payment, I guess, like this year, Glenda, that October. Yeah. Okay. So we just have to deal with it. That's just the way they do these things. I think it's a good program, and for what we're trying to do here, I think it fits really well. It doesn't have a lot of overhead from our perspective. I'm not engaged in a lot of back and forth with them. KIA does have a lot of overhead, I will tell you that. A lot of federal requirements we'll have to meet, and they're going to cost money. They will. So if the board so feels that we can move forward with this, that's what I would like to see, if we can get a motion to proceed with applying for the loans through this Kentucky Rural Finance Corporation.
It's just like a line of credit, and you pull out the whole, we get the whole,
They'll pay it to us as we need.
that's what needed, so we don't have.
We'll be authorized for that. Yeah.
I'll move along that line. If you're looking for
Need a motion, Bill. Yeah.
a motion to approve pursuing this loan, is that what you're looking for?
Yes, sir.
I move that we pursue the loan with the Kentucky Rural Water Finance Corporation.
Okay, have a motion. Do I have a second to that?
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion is second. Any further questions, discussions? Not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. That's minutes show that it's been approved. Okay. Very good, Roger. We'll get that going.
It's just ordinance.
Okay, all right, the
That's the point.
next thing on the agenda was, I believe some discussion came up, or some questions came up about the change in the ordinance 50.42 and 50.44. Maybe clarification, not exactly, but we needed to touch base on that again. Greg, are you clued in on that? Or
Greg, you're muted right now. Greg, you're still muted.
Now can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. I've had so many meetings today. I've been struggling trying to keep power to some kind of a device. Correct me if I'm wrong, Roger. I think the primary question that came up just before Roger and I were going to present this to the council for enactment had to do with giving people an opportunity to work out payment schedules, giving Roger flexibility and working out payment schedules. Explain it, Roger.
That's correct. That's correct. I mean, so we worked on the ordinance and we were getting ready to bring it up before the last board meeting, and we discovered that there was a provision in there omitted within the new ordinance where formerly we had the ability to work with a customer that had a bill they could not pay immediately to work out a payment schedule, and then they had been deleted out of there. And then last meeting, you know, before this thing went to the council, we talked about it during the board meeting and crafted some language up there to try to plug that hole, I guess. And what I think we ended up with, it didn't really, in terms of general manager, it spelled out how high the bill had to be before it would be considered to put it on payments. And then it spelled out the period for payment. So it took any, took just, you know, it spelled out how to deal with it. I think that the bill has to be 3 times.
Yeah, here's the language, Roger. The language that we added after the last meeting that we need you guys to approve is that of course, what we said, if you don't pay your $35 at the end of the 30 days, you get discontinued. But then we say, notwithstanding the foregoing directive, if the unpaid bill is for only 1 month's water usage and such bill exceeds the highest monthly water bill at such location over the preceding 12-month period by a factor of not less than 3. The customer may sign an agreement with the city to pay such charges and penalties in 6 equal monthly installment payments, beginning with the original due date of the bill. I'm kind of remembering, Bill, kind of key, you and I discussed this as to whether this language was getting the job done. In such cases, water service shall not be discontinued at such location only for so long as such installment payments are timely made and all other bills and charges at such location are paid in accordance with the terms of this ordinance. The idea being, I mean, what we're doing is we're sort of, instead of giving Roger the weight of having to work out something differently with each person who's got a delinquent bill, what we're saying is, if the delinquent bill is for 1 month only, and that 1 month's water usage exceeds 3 times the highest monthly water bill in the preceding 12-month period, then under those circumstances, we're going to let them pay it. Or Roger can let them pay it in 6 equal monthly installment payments, starting with this month. But they have to continue to pay their regular monthly bills also. So that's the way.
Mr. Chair. Listen, first of all, I want to apologize. I have not had good reception.
Is that in your packet? Is that
Yes,
corrected ordinance in this packet?
page 26.
Under paragraph 50.44, billing delinquency and disconnection.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, starting about halfway down in that paragraph.
I have a question.
Steve,
Yes, sir.
okay, go
Yes.
ahead.
First of all, can y'all all hear me?
Yes,
I want to first of all apologize. We've been on these over the line kind of meetings, and I've had bad reception, and so I've just got a couple of questions, and it may just be that I have just not been where I could hear all the discussion that's went on with the board. But we started out about 6 or 7 months ago, and we tried to deal with an issue, and that issue was, if a person leaves owing water on their meter and another person buys the property, then that person can't get water until that delinquent bill, that somebody else's bill, gets paid. And that's what we was trying to deal with by setting up a deposit that everybody paid for water service to help us avoid losing that money, but not bringing some new person in to the city. And the first thing we say to them is, you owe $150 for this other guy's water bill. So again, I could have missed some discussions. It's been hard to do this online. I don't get a very good reception, cuts in and out. But I'm confused of how we went from that to now we're doing another ordinance that is very specific on when we will deal with a person. Can't be 2.9 times their bill, it's got to be 3%. I just somebody like to explain to me how we went from trying to solve that issue to now we're on a whole other issue. What happened?
Well,
The first issue got resolved, just like you guys decided to resolve it.
Why was that part left out of the ordinance that was in the original ordinance? We never had a problem with Roger dealing with anybody. The board
It's
never
not left out of the ordinance.
So why was it left out?
Say that again, Steve. What was left out of the ordinance?
We've never had a problem with management administrators dealing with individuals to try to find a resolution that everybody could live with. We never discussed that. So how in the new ordinance did that part of the old ordinance get left out?
It was
Well,
because
I could
it got left out.
But we never had it, to my knowledge. We never thought it was a problem with Roger or other people having a little bit of leverage to try to work with people without it being so cut and dried. I call it policy creep, and I've seen it for the last 25 years. It's like a fence row you don't keep clean. And before you know it, it's out from your property line 10 or 15 foot. I just am confused why we even need a new policy. Nobody's ever mentioned that, to my knowledge. So how did we get here?
well, we got Steve on section 50.42 which is a part of this same ordinance,
Mhm.
is where the deposits were set up for the meters.
That's correct.
And that cleans up the issue we've had with people having to pay a bill, a delinquent bill. But this same ordinance, 5042 and 5044 are tied together. And it's in 50.44, and Greg, correct me if I'm wrong what I'm saying here, talks about the collection of the bill while the person is still living in the house and still paying it, but they owe us a large bill due to a leak or whatever.
Well, my question, Dan, is though on the old ordinance, didn't the city administrator, wasn't it in the ordinance that he could work with those people?
I don't have that ordinance in front of me, but I don't know, Greg, I'd have to defer to Greg on that. I don't think so.
I don't think it was there. I think in fact, I think it happened, but it wasn't actually spelled out in the ordinance. But in talking with Roger said, we're doing that and we need to continue to do that. So the last time we got together, of course, part of this ordinance, when you impose the deposits, you have to say, okay, now what are you going to do with those deposits and when are they going to be applied? And when are you going to turn off service? So in discussing all of those things, we came up with an ordinance, but that ordinance did not have a provision for what was actually happening. And that was that provisions were being met. We were letting people work out arrangements. no real authority for letting them work out arrangements. We were just doing it. And so we discussed, at the last meeting, we discussed, all right, Roger is requesting the authority to continue to work out payments when somebody is in a tough situation, rather than turning them off. Discussion, what we came up with was, if it's just for what was this language, if it's just for 1 month, I mean, if this doesn't apply, what the board came up with was, if the delinquency is just for 1 month, and if that delinquency is large, and we decided that three times a normal monthly water bill, and we said 3 times.
Okay, the way I heard that discussion, and we wasn't discussing delinquency. We were discussing someone has a water. Now, am I still confused here?
We ended up in both places, Steve. To resolve the issue of when the guy moves off and leaves the bill, and also the
one water bill that's really high because something odd has happened, then we're going to turn it off. Then we're going to turn the water off.
I think we lost Greg there.
I think what Steve's point is, we talked about.
Hang on just a sec. Do we have any Wi-Fi here at all?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me better now?
Yes.
Was that a yes?
Yeah.
The technical world has it in for me today. Did you hear anything that I just said, Steve?
No, I don't. Well, I don't know.
It was gargled up, Greg. Let's get to the chase here. Here's what Steve's point was. I talked to him several days ago. I was out on another job, and he came up to me and asked me about this ordinance here, and asked about the particular provisions about how you deal with someone that couldn't pay for a bill. And his concern is trying to put a directive down and take away the management discretion on the situation. That's the bottom line. I didn't get into that during the meeting. Y'all handled that as a board, and that's a policy issue. I kept out of it. But, I've got concerns. I would be honest to tell you that I've got concerns that one cookie don't fit every situation. But I understand too, and talking to Greg, that's how he would like that to be. He doesn't want us to get in trouble for not trying to treat everybody equal. So you got kind of two things here, two forces at work. And you're trying to do the best you can, but I think that's the entire issue. Wrong about that, or
No, I just didn't understand how we were trying to deal with one issue, and now we're in a completely, I guess, different issue. But I think that, in trying to solve these problems are always a challenge. But I think when you get so prescriptive that you still have a person that's got a problem and they have no area, no option, no opportunity for that to be addressed. And that's what life is just not black and white. And that's my concern. I think that management should be able to always have a little bit of flexibility rather than saying, hey, your water bill's 2.5 times. It doesn't meet the policy. There's nothing we can do about it.
If you want to enact that ordinance that simply said,
I know what it says.
if you want to enact an ordinance that simply says that Roger can entertain any questions of hardship, you can do that. But when you do, every time Roger makes a decision, it establishes a precedent, and Roger doesn't, and also Roger doesn't have any direction. If it's just purely Roger, do what you want to do, and determining hardship on a case-by-case basis, then Roger's got to face anybody that comes in his office, and you can do this if you want. That's fine with me. But everybody that comes in Roger's office, Roger has to determine, does that constitute an adequate hardship? And, you know, we're sitting in Calvert City, that's a difficult thing to do. It's particularly if you don't have any direction other than it's a hardship. Well, is it a hardship if I lost my job? Is it a hardship if I've had medical expenses? You know, you immediately get into all of this periphery. And after a brief discussion of that, the board decided, no, let's just do it this way. But I'll do it any way you want to do it.
My original comment is we set out to try to correct what we thought was a problem. And we set out with a kind of an attitude that we want to be approachable to people. And we don't want to be the first thing experience they have with the city is you owe money that you didn't run up. You didn't make this bill, but you're going to pay it or you're not getting any water. Now, how did we get from trying to fix that problem? Roger's always had this authority.
One thing leads to another.
Or to my knowledge, ever brought it up as an issue.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
We hear it's an issue.
Yeah. Can I make a comment,
Or the
Steve?
board thinks it's an issue.
Yeah. To me, my understanding is we may have been adjusting because of hardship or whatever, but I think it came up that Roger didn't actually have the authority to do it. So we wanted to be able to give him the authority to do it. Because we were doing something that it would be just like one of your employees giving someone a deal on the side. But you as the boss never gave him authority to do it. So now we've recognized that problem and we wanted to address it to give Roger that, but we didn't recognize the problem before.
Never discussed.
Well, yeah, really, Paul, by ordinance, the previous policy allowed me to do that. I mean, I followed the ordinance all those years, but what the difference on the policy was, it didn't spell out exactly how you were to correct it. It did allow the manager to set the terms, and you know, we basically were pretty consistent on how we did that. Glenda will tell you. I mean, I didn't get involved in every one of those deals, and we knew exactly who was having trouble and who did. And so that was you know, we didn't break the ordinance or anything like that. And I don't have a problem with doing this way personally, but you know, you probably will have some issues down the line.
Well, to me, the 3-month issue was to get away from the chronic people who don't pay every month. And unless we said for a specific incident, something happened, they're going to claim a hardship every single month.
Well,
And how do we say no then?
here's what I think where you're at. Probably, you know, the way I understand it, the council passed that ordinance. Is that correct, Greg?
They passed this new ordinance.
Yes, it's done. It's signed. It's done. It's a done deal.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember, Roger. I don't know if they had first or second reading. I'm not sure if they've had 2 readings on it or not.
I think it was, wasn't it, Glenda?
I have advertised it already. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's done. It's a done deal. I think, you know, probably just need to follow it for a while and see how it works, you know, and see if it works okay.
One other thing I would want to comment on, Roger, is on the 5044 in that A paragraph near the end. given the situation where they had a huge bill, in such cases, water service will not be continued at such location only for as long as such installment payments are timely made. And so the phrase timely in there, to me, gives you some discretion, you know, when realities don't work out and you're dealing with people and, you know, and that may not be enough, but there is some discretion there to me in timely made. You have somebody that's made 2, 3 payments and they struggle with the next one or something, and you can define timely somewhat. True, Greg, or not?
It's arguable. That was not the intent. The intent was that if somebody comes in with one huge bill, can you hear me?
I'm with you.
If somebody comes in with a huge bill, then what you guys said was if they come in with, it's just 1 month, they come in and something went screwy and it was for 1 month and they've got a huge bill, then we want to give them some time to pay that bill. And, but then you also wanted to be sure that they didn't fall behind on other bills. So they had to make their payments. They had to pay that over 6 months. That timely was meant on time. That's what it means. But you guys are the board. You can make it any, of course the council passes it, but you can make it any way you want to make it.
Bill, the thing I'm
Do-
concerned about though, that person don't even get that option unless their bill's 3 times their monthly rate. So
Well,
they
Make it something else.
$100 a month and they get a $295 bill, they have no option.
So you're assuming that our bills are at least $70 to $80 each, our water bills?
How much? It's gotta
Well,
be,
say $290. I mean, you got to divide that by 3. What's their normal bill?
it has to be 3 times their normal bill before they're even got an option.
So tell me, Roger, what's our average bill?
Right. I just think we're getting too prescriptive. I think
Roger, what is our average bill each month?
make a policy for every hypothetical issue that comes along. And I just hate to see us become a city that are not approachable by people and we're not people friendly because we got a policy that says this, you don't meet it, we don't do nothing.
Well, I mean, the whole issue before is we had a problem and this is our attempt to solve it. I am for us seeing how it works out. And I trust Roger to know that this board is open to him when he has a problem. And if he has a problem with his ordinance and how it plays out, come right back to us and we'll start again.
I agree.
Maybe we've created another problem. Hopefully we've solved one. The drama continues.
Yeah, when we started changing 42 and 44, it all has to fit together like a puzzle. You can't just change one little piece of it. It all has to work. So, but you can do it absolutely any way you want to do it, as long as the council's in agreement. So if you want to do it a different way, that's easy to do.
All right, maybe let's move on.
So, is there anything else on that deal?
I think generally speaking, most everybody says is try it and see what happens, and we can always come back and visit again if we have to, so.
So if we don't have anything else on it, Bill, I had something that one of the water deputy clerks brought to me today, and this is one of those deals, and it just kind of food for thought. I don't expect we're going to do anything about it tonight because we really can't policy wise on it. But we've got one of our customers had a water line bust underground and had a big leak. And I think I was told it was like a what, $600 or $700 bill, Linda. Did you hear this story?
Holly mentioned a little bit, but
Yeah.
but no, I don't know specifics.
But this is kind of a common occurrence in here recently. We've been seeing more of it. I suspect as these service lines get older that we're going to see more and more of it too. And so this guy's got a $600 bill. He can't pay it. There's no way. And you know, we're not going to go shut him off either. It's just going to be out there at some point in time. He's going to have to pay it off. But and I know we've gone back and forth about this. I think probably at some point in time, Calvert Water had a leak adjustment policy on the water side of it. That probably went awry, and that's probably why we got to where we're at, where we don't adjust water bills for leakage. But this guy doesn't have any sewer, and he's obviously in a situation that we'll be able probably to try out this policy here just to see how that works there, because I'm sure his bill is triple. And then I had another one. I didn't have a chance to talk to Greg about this. I had one on 578 Cypress, and it's a lady that's been in a place, and she's been in and out of the place, and you know, we had apparently turned the service off some time back. I don't know where she had to go, but evidently she was out of the house, whatever, but didn't ever tell us when she came back in there and turned the water back on. She's been using about 4,000 gallons a month. And I guess for about last 12 months, nobody knew that she was in there. She didn't ask for it to be turned back on. She tampered with the meter. So we're going to just treat her like the ordinance says on that deal. We're going to bill her and probably prosecute her for tampering with the meter there. So another one of those things, I'll just make you aware of it, because I'm sure you might get some backlash on it, and just make you need to know that. So
is your point that you're saying your concern is that this is unworkable from the beginning, using that language there?
no, I don't know. I don't know. You know, I don't. So in Mr. Jennings' case, his house water bill probably was about $100, and we'll just have to say, okay, Mr. Jennings, you know, you got a $600 water bill. We're going to divide that by 6, and you got to pay $100 a month plus whatever your water bill is. You know, just have to come up with it.
Roger, do some systems have,
This is a different issue.
you can insure that for,
He didn't use $600 worth of water, right?
No, but it went through the meter bill, so he's going to be billed for it.
He doesn't have sewer, so it's not something we can forgive is the sewer side of it. So
By policy, we don't adjust water leaks.
he's not on sewer, right?
No sewer. So, I mean, just the point is, it's going to be a hardship on this guy. I don't know what the situation was and why he used 600 gallons of water. He may have been on a boat, man, you know, worked on a boat and been gone 30 days. I don't know. You know, back about a year or so ago, we had a really brief discussion about these insurance policies this company was trying to market, you know, the different utilities, and some have bought it in Kentucky. I know that, but they're not cheap. I mean, they're on the order of about $3 to $4 per month per customer, and they take care of problems associated with service lines. And then they would pay, you know, if this guy had a leak, they'd pay for the leak and pay for the service line to be repaired there through the insurance policy. But the complicated thing about how they were doing that, the way they were working with utilities, they made you acquire the insurance, and then you could allow your people to opt out, and you usually charge back your customers the cost of the insurance. So between $3 and $4 extra per bill, I don't think there was a lot desire to do that on our part. We haven't really, I haven't seen a tremendous problem in this area, but I suspect in time it may raise its head. But that's just for your information only. We'll proceed on and go by policy and see how it rolls.
Okay. All right, moving along. Roger, you want to talk to us about the Travis subdivision?
Yeah, the utilities in the Travis subdivision. Most of y'all know off of Old Gilbertsville Highway, Donnie Travis has been doing some light industrial development. There's been several businesses that have moved in there, and Donnie's been working on that for about 5 years. And so he followed our policy and submitted his plans, and we reviewed them, we approved them. He went through Division of Water, got his permits, and installed the lines. We tested the lines according to the quality control, quality assurance procedures in there. And I'm at the point that I need to make sure that we get it on the minutes that we've accepted those utilities into our system. And that's what we would like to do tonight. And I can assure you, we've certified that they met our construction requirements, and we've had people inspected and
Every time that we,
too. So we need to, we just need to get it in the minutes to get it
I
accepted.
didn't think I've been on mute. How could I be on mute and then it,
Donna, you're not on mute. Now you are.
Procedurally, he's the developer. He's developed the facilities. We put them in. We want to get it on the record. The facilities have been properly designed and they've been inspected, and that we ready. We need to have them adopted into our system. So.
Okay. All right. So you all understand what we're doing here? We're taking over. The city will be taking over, or our water and sewer will be taking over what Donnie Travis installed in that subdivision, and then we'll be picking up the maintenance and everything on that going forward.
Yeah, so they've had them in service longer than the warranty period. So, now we need to take over the operation and maintenance of it. Yeah, they still pay. Yeah, they anytime a new business comes in, they still pay tap if we set the meter and stuff. So,
Hey, Roger,
yes,
Roger, you're talking about in that new subdivision that Donnie put in out by, off of 282?
that's correct, Greg. It's the one y'all are working on with the plat and stuff, trying to get that all settled up too. It's that one.
Do you know if he ever got something worked out with, I think it was Texas Gas, some gas utility had an easement and was not willing to, do you know what the situation is with that?
That got worked out. Yeah.
Okay.
It's been so long ago that I think you and I got involved in that, and he got involved in it. We all got it worked out. And
Okay.
it's installed in an area where it doesn't interfere with their gas line. Which,
Oh, it doesn't cross them?
I got a little bit perturbed about that deal because we were in there first, and Texas Gas is overlapping our water transmission main, trying to tell us what to do. Negative on that. I ain't gonna listen to that.
Right. Okay, as long as it's worked out, I just knew there was an issue at one point in time, and I didn't know if it had ever gotten resolved or not.
No, I think it has. I think you were good with it when it was done, and I think we're good to go. We actually avoided being where they originally designed. We made it a little bit of an alteration in our alignment, and there's a portion of it that's within the right of way, the roadway, right through that area. But
Okay.
it's fine.
Good,
As far enough away, it's not going to cause them any problem.
good.
I just asked Roger today when we was talking about this, to make sure that we didn't have another McDonald's or Cracker Barrel or something like that, and that he has made sure that Donnie's got everything done properly. And then we want to make sure we get it in the minutes and get it so that 10 years down the road, when we may not be here, if somebody comes along and starts asking about that subdivision, they can go back to the record and find out exactly what we've done. So it's the reason why we're needing a motion and a second on the minutes to accept the Donnie Travis subdivision as per the plat. When Greg and his people get that all worked out exactly right, we'll tie in with that. So
We've got all the documentation, all the GIS stuff and all that.
Well, I'm gonna put the shape files into the GIS. I've got the engineer provided me with shape files and everything that we require, so we'll get those put in there. Once the board approves it, I'll get it into the GIS system.
Okay, well, if you've reviewed it and gone over it, I'll make that motion that we take it over.
okay. We have a second.
Yes, I will second.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of taking over the Donnie Travis subdivision for the water and sewer? Let it be known by saying aye.
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 Aye. All opposed by like sign? Okay,
So I want to make one note here, if the board's okay. When we record this in the minutes, we'll get with John Ward and ask what the official name of the subdivision is and make sure that official name is tagged to it. I think it's Cypress Creek subdivision or something on that order, if that's okay with the board. That way, you know, everything's consistent here.
And that is within the city limits, right?
It is.
Okay.
make sure it's all documented properly, Roger, whatever we need to do there, so.
I'll do it.
All right, any other items?
Hopefully next meeting, we'll get back to being a real meeting. We're gonna
Yeah.
work on that, so.
We need to.
Okay.
All right,
You ready for my motion?
I'm ready for your motion, Paul.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye and click the leave button down there in the corner.
Aye.
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 Good night.
See y'all.
Aye.
Good night.
Good night.